Welcome to Veterans Archives, where your story matters. We are dedicated to preserving the stories of our nation's heroes for future generations. Today is Monday, March 17th, 2025. We're talking with Byron Kipp Brand, who served the United States Air Force. Good afternoon, Kipp.
Good afternoon.
I can call you Kipp?
Absolutely.
I just want to make sure. All right, well, it's good to meet you today.
My pleasure.
All right, well, we'll start out.
Thank you for the job that you're doing for everyone.
Oh, thank you. It's not a job.
I love
what I'm doing.
Good work.
Thank you.
There you go.
I really appreciate it. So I'm going to start out really simple. When and where were you born?
Born in Detroit, Michigan, 1958.
Okay. Now, did you grow up in Detroit?
Nope, grew up in Harrison Township. It's 7 miles from here.
Okay.
We're near Metropolitan Beach.
All right. What was it like growing up there?
Wonderful. I mean, it was family oriented. We'd play. We didn't have devices. We would play and play until we got called home. And I just remember just having friends. And I still have lifelong friends. I still have 7 people that I've known over 50, 60 years that are still friends that I talk to almost every day.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Well, it's amazing what'll happen if you don't have a device in your hands, right?
Yes.
Do a lot of bike riding and that kind of thing when you were a kid?
Bike riding. I was very big into sports. My best friends were in the golf business. They got me to be a caddy, and further on down the line, it was wonderful.
Uh-huh. Did you play much golf?
I did.
Okay. My wife's the golfer in our family. I have clubs, and I can drive a cart. It's about as far as that goes.
There's nothing wrong with driving a cart.
Yeah. So did you have brothers and sisters?
I have 3 brothers.
Okay.
I had 3. I lost 1.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
That's all right. Thank you.
Yeah. So were you the youngest or the oldest or the middle?
I was the oldest.
Okay. Did you sort of rule the roost with them then?
No, actually, I was doing my own thing. It was amazing. My parents they weren't really no, they were extremely conservative, to be honest with you, but with me, they were just, because the people hanging around, they were older, but you could trust them. I'm 13 years old going on a bus with 16 and 17-year-olds, or in a car down to Tiger Stadium.
Yeah.
And my parents didn't think anything about it. I come home 11 o'clock at night. I get up every day, go to school, not miss anything, so yeah.
So you were responsible.
Yeah.
For sure. So speaking of your parents, so 4 boys in the house, that's a lot, or it can be a lot.
People say my mother was a saint. I won't disagree with them.
Well, let's talk about your mom a little bit. What are some of your memories of her?
Endearing. Everybody called her Ma. She worked the majority of her life. Loved taking care of people. Organized, making us do stupid things. I remember we wanted to play golf and didn't have any money, so in order to do that, she would draw something on us, and we'd have to go out in public with it and be embarrassed, but also learn like that's what we're there for, so we can play golf. So we did.
Oh,
yeah, it was good.
That's pretty inventive.
It wasn't anything that would be,
yeah,
give you nightmares or nothing, but it's embarrassing, but for a reason. So.
Oh, that makes sense.
Went out and learned how to caddy and make my own money, which is what I was supposed to do. That was pretty much the lesson.
Yeah. So you caddied around Harrison Township then?
Yeah, a place called Gowney Golf Club. It's a private club just up the street.
Okay. Still there?
Yes.
Wow. Well, that's
my best friend's the pro, and
oh, nice.
Yeah.
So what about your dad? What do you remember about your dad?
My dad was an engineer. Worked till he was about 70. Then my parents sold their place and they moved it to Emmett. And my mother was the first to go, and then my dad was a couple years after that.
Yeah.
They enjoyed it. They enjoyed their dogs. They'd rescue dogs, and they had a lot of property. So.
Any particular types of dogs, or was it just any dog?
No, they had all kinds. But they had these 2 Malamute shepherds that they named Luna and Tick. And yeah, one had a leg cut off, the owner, and then the other one was by another owner. I mean, it was horrible, but the way they treated those dogs, and you come in the house, you'd think those dogs would be shy, friendly.
Yeah.
And they're Malamute shepherds, and they were just friendly as can be.
The interesting thing that I have seen with rescue dogs is they're so appreciative.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like they know
Yeah.
that they were rescued.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to say it. They are very appreciative.
I think any being can feel love. I don't care if it's a tree, a flower, whatever. You can feel when someone wants to take care of you or taking care of you because they want to.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I believe everything breathes has a brain.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Oh.
Did you ever read, this is kind of off topic, but I got to ask, did you ever read a book called The Little Prince?
No, I did not.
Okay, so I would recommend it because there's a point in there where it's a really interesting, it's like a kid's story, but it's got a lot of adult stuff in it that means something. But there's a point in there where the Little Prince talks about this rose that he's been taking care of, and he's told that it's not the rose that means so much, it's the fact that you gave it so much love, that's the meaning behind why you care for it so much. And it gave love back to him. Anyway, I'm going to get you a copy of that book.
Good, thank you.
You'll get a copy when you get your story.
Oh, thank you.
Because I think you'll really appreciate it. And if you don't, tell me.
I will.
I'd like to know. So you're growing up, tell me a little about school.
Went to high school, Lance Cruz, basically general studies. In 1972, I was watching Canadian TV. And they were telling a different side of the story about events that were happening. So I got interested in politics, and I worked for a presidential candidate who lost. It was a George McGovern. I make no bones about that. I've been a Democrat. I vote Republican, but I am a Democrat.
Mm-hmm.
And I worked for him and got the itch. And 1974, I worked for David Bonior and helped him on his campaign. Became precinct delegate. Young Democrat, state of Michigan. And just fell in love with the history of a country and how it's formed, and the great threat that's always there for tyranny. But that's why we became the country that we are. We're not going to have tyranny,
Right.
but it's always, the threat is always there, and that was served me in a different way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when you get that political bug, whether it's just working for politicians or it's being a politician, it's a very strong pull. There's something about the people involved in it, the passion that they have.
There is
for it.
extreme passion. I remember, I didn't take it that hard, but I remember the night the McGovern lost, in the campaign office, the campaign manager and several bawling their eyes out. And I just said at the time, well, it's because they put all their work in and didn't get what but then I came to find out that you do put your effort into candidates because you believe in them.
Right.
And
it's very hard when they don't win because there's all these things that you want to see happen.
Right.
That don't.
Right.
Yeah, not to get into a political discussion. It's very interesting that you are a Democrat, but you do vote Republican. I myself am a Republican, but I vote my conscience.
Right.
Is how I look at it. So.
I vote issues that are important to me.
Yes.
Especially now, veterans issues are extremely important to me.
Mm-hmm.
When I was growing up, it was more equality.
Yeah.
Fairness. So I wanted to make sure that was in my candidates when I spoke to them, if I got a chance to talk to them or listen to them or read about them.
Yeah. I remember when Jimmy Carter was running against Gerald Ford, my mom took us to the local train station in Lansing, and I think it was Gerald Ford was shaking hands and talking to people, and that was kind of my first taste of that. Like, this guy's out here meeting everybody and shaking hands, and Jimmy Carter the same way. Like, he was an everyman, as far as I'm concerned. So yeah.
Speaking, you've been to Ford's presidential library?
I have not. I have to go there. Is it?
Yeah.
I was in the Michigan National Guard when he passed away, and so of course the Michigan National Guard handled that whole funeral and procession and all of that. So, but I do have to make it there.
Yeah, it's well worth it. It's a nice trip.
Yeah, I think that'll be a good weekend trip for my wife and I.
We have a member here whose wife, he's passed, his wife is still here, that had one of the most impressive presidential button and stationery that I've ever seen.
Really?
Yeah. and it was incredible. And I always told her I want it, but she's giving it to her daughter, which is right. I understand, but yeah, and I knew them before coming in here, and it was just incredible what she had.
Oh, that would be
Going
something.
back to Herbert Hoover.
Really? She had all the really cool
All
stuff.
the buttons I like all this, the weird songs. She had records. She had everything.
Yeah.
She had Pat Paulson's album when he was running for president in '68. And Pat Paulson was on, what show was that? Ronan Martin's Laugh-In.
Yes. Yes, I remember. That's a little bit before me, but I remember those things as a kid.
Yeah.
Watching those things. I remember Pat Paulson, and I remember going to Washington, D.C. with my family when the whole Watergate incident was going on, and seeing kind of the circus that was happening in our nation's capital as that was all unfolding.
Right.
So it was all very interesting.
Yeah.
So you graduated from high school, and then did you go right into the Air
Went
Force?
right in the military,
Okay.
and I can't remember if it's the SAT or the ACT, the one where you need to go to out of state to college.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you.
Whatever that one was, I just got lit up the night before, just totally drunk. The other one I did all right and scored in the top 3%.
Yeah.
But this other one I didn't do it, and when the recruiter came, I said, how about if I go to the academy? He said, well, first of all, you have to have a congressperson appoint you and get to meet these activity things. And well, I don't think Congress would be, Jim O'Hara was a congressman at the time. My parents are really close to him.
Mm-hmm.
I said, I could probably get that. He said, how are your grades? I said, good. What'd you do on this test? I don't remember. I told him straight up. I said, it's one or the other. And I think he said out of possible 1,400, I scored 380.
Oh, I think that's the ACT, yeah.
Yeah, I got my name right.
And that was about it.
Oh, it was horrible.
Oh, geez.
Stupidity on my part.
Live and learn, right?
Yeah, I just wanted to go, I got talking to some people, and they said, go this way. So I went in the military, and I talked to the recruiter. I said, is there any way I can get to like an officer's candidate school? And they told me how to proceed with that once I'm in there. And so I did basic training, and then I went to my training school, and that's when we started it. And they asked me what I wanted to be, and I said, I think I want to be a JAG. And asked me why I wanted to be a JAG and everything like that. And so I, told them, I said, I believe in justice and the law.
Right.
And 7 weeks later, I had a catastrophic leg injury that for the next 12 years or 11 years, I had 15 surgeries.
So tell me about what happened, if you don't mind.
I was bending my knee. We were in a position doing a maneuver or a training drill, and I was in a bent position in my heel. I was on one knee with my heel up, and I was just out of position, so the sergeant came over and was going to reposition me. And as he was doing, he didn't exert pressure or nothing, but my heel gave out of my boot. And when it did, it shot my leg back and forward. And we just heard the cracking and the bone come through my skin, through my patella, nicked the femoral artery. And about a week later, they came in and said, Kipp, they knew me by Kipp, and they said, Kipp, your military career is done.
Yeah.
Excuse me. He says, you're going to need a bunch of work done on this leg in the future. And he says, unfortunately, we can't do it with women here. So he told me about going to the VA and everything that would happen, and they were honest about it and good, and that was it.
Yeah. It must have been some injury, though. I mean, 11 years worth of...
Yeah. Well, when
Wow.
you break it in 3 places and your femur comes through your patella, so the patella is here, there's a shard went through, sticking up through here, went actually through the bone.
Yeah.
That was the force of it. Like I said, he didn't mean no maliciousness, nothing. Just a freak accident.
Yeah.
And it snapped like a twig.
Yeah. It'd be very easy to be upset about. I mean, you don't... You seem very like it happened. It would be very easy to not take it that way and to be upset.
But I tried all I could, and it took that many years to get it right.
Yeah.
And it took a fight on my part with the VA. Now the VA is a totally different story.
Right.
The VA does good work. The physicians and nurses are phenomenal. The administration's got some issues.
Yeah.
And so long story short, it took me doing something crazy, getting to Chicago, Hines VA Hospital. There was a doctor that said, I'll fuse your knee, but give me 3 chances to fix it. And he went in, did it. Third one didn't work. He says, okay, I'll fuse it. And this is just before MRIs became popular.
Mm-hmm.
So they did the surgery and they put a rod that went from my hip to my ankle. And then my leg is permanently straight with the rod in it. And they cut out the patella tendon.
Mm-hmm.
And when they were going through the biopsy of it, they found that there were hundreds from the break of little ossified bodies that were inside the patella tendon that wouldn't show up on an x-ray, that were rubbing against the femoral head, and that's what caused me all my pain.
Yeah.
The only time I felt good is when it was straight. Well, I got tired of braces and everything, just fuse it. So I got that done, and then unfortunately this one got bad from carrying this one around, but we got this one finally fixed as well.
Well, good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you, very short stint in the military, and it sounds like
Yeah.
you really wanted to do some things while
I did,
while you
yeah.
were in, yeah. And so you get out. Did you come home?
Came home, then went to Cincinnati to go to college.
Okay.
Took me 6 years to get a 4-year degree, but I got it, political science.
Mm-hmm.
Came back and was still acting up. I had surgeries in Chicago and here. Cincinnati here, Ann Arbor, and in Detroit. And they told me, there's nothing we're going to do for you. We're done. That's when I decided I had to act, and I did. And got me there, and they, to their word, I never had an issue with this leg since.
Yeah. So it's good that it worked for you, though.
Yeah, yeah.
So in between all that, you after you got your degree, did you go right to work, or kind of?
No,
what happened?
Those 12 years, my work history was very limited.
Yeah.
I'd be having surgery all the time. I wanted to go to law school,
Mm-hmm.
but I figured law school was going to be the same thing, so I didn't. And so, once it was fused, it took me about a year of rehabbing and everything to get it where I felt comfortable I could do it. I was working for a friend of mine, just helping him out. He had a closet door business and a door business, like carrying doors on my shoulder with my leg fused, swinging it around, going up these upstairs, everything. Could do a lot of things I couldn't. I couldn't drive a stick shift anymore.
Right.
Not that I ever did, but I
Right.
wouldn't be allowed to. Couldn't sit in aisle seats. If I did, my leg was sticking out, would trip everybody. Flying on a plane was a nightmare. Then they finally moved me over the hall and I could sit there. A lot of things you had to tinker with it, but my life turned around. It was great. So
Yeah.
I went to work. I finally started working, of all things, back in golf courses, managing golf courses.
Mm-hmm. And so what year would this have been that you?
This was 1990.
Okay.
In
So
1992, 1998, 1996, I managed golf courses.
Mm-hmm.
I was managing a golf course in Ray Township, and it wasn't a private course, it was a public course. And the owners had all the trust in me, they loved me, and their daughter-in-law, who became their ex-daughter-in-law, ran the beer cart.
Mm-hmm.
Well, whatever happened, we started dating, and that was a no-no, and they fired both of us. So I went back to doing the stuff for my buddy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still at the golf club, the private one. I'd help out over there whenever they needed me. But then my leg and back started going, and I had surgery on my back, and that was my physical working.
Yeah.
That part of it was done. But I saw an ad in the paper for a pilot program for a counselor at a cemetery, grief counselor.
Mm-hmm.
And I went in, I interviewed, I said, I have no experience, but I have the greatest gift of all. I had our dog, Mandy, our dog, and she was the greatest therapy dog, and was not even registered.
Right.
But people, I'll never forget one Sunday, a couple came in, they had lost their daughters in an accident in Canada. And on the worst day of their lives, Mandy was there, and they both had clumps of hair, pulling out of it they had in their hands. She didn't move a muscle. I'm non-denominational. I'm agnostic. But I had all the necessary information to pass on to them if some religion or something like that, grief places, what we offered there, and it worked out well. But then it finally got to the point that my back gave, and that was it.
Yeah. Now, were you married at this time?
No, at that time, we got married in 1998.
Okay. Did you marry the cart girl?
I married the cart girl.
Okay, I was going to ask. Okay, so you meet on the golf course, you both lose your jobs, and you got married anyway.
Yep. 3 lovely stepdaughters.
Yeah.
And she was going to school at the time. She finished up. She got her degree. She went to work for Granger. About 3 years later, I got a pituitary tumor and a disease called acromegaly. It's gigantism in adults. Required brain surgery, radiation, all the other stuff. Again, the VA took care of me as far as monetarily goes there. I wasn't worried about that. Got me to and from my appointments. And my wife kept working. Then in about 2 years later after that, she came down with leukemia. And we went to her oncologist, and he told us, he said, Carol, you're not going to die from this. You'll die with it. It's chronic lymphocytic leukemia. Very treatable, but the thing is that it's chronic, and it comes back. Eventually, she's going to want a stem cell. So the first time she had, was in remission for 6 years. Came back again, was remission for 2 years. The last time it came back, she was in remission for 5 months. And she'd never missed a day of work except for the day that they put her port in. She'd go to work in the morning, get her chemo in the afternoon, come home, go to work the next day. I drive her, but but she wanted to work during this. And her chemo session was only 1 month every 6 months.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like, and it hurt. The type of chemo she was getting, because it was a different type of thing, wasn't debilitating. She never lost any hair or anything. Well, this time, when it came back with non-Hodgkin's. And that was a different regime. So she started losing her hair, losing weight, painful, and she started declining. And in another 6 months, she was gone. And that was 2018.
Okay. Well, I'm very sorry for your loss.
Thank you. I had 20 great years with her.
Yeah.
5 grandchildren. I got 3 of them here, 2 in South Carolina. And I see them a lot. And it's a great legacy she left with me.
Good relationship with the stepdaughters then?
Yes, and a very good relationship with my grandkids, especially the ones that are here. The ones that are in South Carolina, it's more difficult. My oldest grandson here is big into golf. So he takes golf lessons every week. I pay for them with a friend of mine, not my buddy that's a pro, another friend that's a pro, and gives him his lessons. And then the other one likes baseball here, and then the other one here loves dance. And then down there, Cameron is an artist. He wants to be an artist. And Noah is just a bookworm. He's like, my mom's an educator, so.
Oh, well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes a nice, really nice family that you ended up with.
Yeah. And we started a 501c3 for my wife. It's called Carol's Army. We deliver comfort blankets for patients undergoing chemotherapy. And we have a couple fundraisers every year. My stepdaughter Kelly and I run it. We'd like to do more, but unfortunately, just with the family, she's got 3 kids. I'm very limited, but we still manage to pull it off a couple times a year and do quite well at it. So we've given over, I think, 2,000 blankets now out to. We have partnered with Carmanos, Beaumont, or whatever Beaumont is now, and St. John's.
Okay, that's quite a legacy.
Yeah, it is. And if we hear somebody that has under chemotherapy, we'll give them a blanket. If it's a friend of a friend, we don't care.
How can people reach out to you for that?
We have a website, carolsarmy.org.
All right, and it's CAROL.
CAROLS, Army.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I want to make sure we got that out there.
Thank you.
That's a wonderful way to.
It's a generic website because we just don't have the funds to. We have the money go to the blankets than we would for ourselves.
Yeah, that makes
A
sense.
website, so
That makes complete sense.
yeah, we were able to put one together and it's sufficed for us.
Well, that's very nice.
Yeah, we're learning those QR things, or I'm not, but they are.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny. I think everyone reaches an age where they stop listening to new music.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I'm a kid from the 70s and 80s. So
Yeah, 84 was mine. I stopped.
yeah. And so there's certain cutoffs and I watched my parents the same way. They got to a point where they didn't need to have the latest computer or the latest this or that. They were happy with what they had and it worked for them. So yeah, let somebody else mess with the QR codes.
Yes, I mean it's bad enough I just learned how to right click. Let's stop at that.
Right click's very powerful to Kipp.
Oh, it is, but it's also very problematic if you type in the wrong word accidentally. And yeah, so.
This is true. Is there anything that we haven't talked about that you'd like to talk about?
This place.
Yeah, let's talk about the Michigan Veterans Home.
I was the first person in here. I live in Suite 108.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that you will take a picture of it and some pictures. If you need permission from me, you can go in my room.
Okay.
They're about 420 square feet, full bathroom, bars. You have all the privileges of home. If your team says you can have a beer every night, you can have a couple of beers. If you have a car and are able to drive, you can drive. I still do, and I have a Acadia out there.
Mm-hmm.
3 meals a day, and if you don't like what's on the menu, you can order something else: a burger, a hot dog, a chef salad. Soup is always available. The activities: 3 times a week, Monday through Friday, morning, afternoon, and evening. On the weekends, twice.
Mm-hmm.
We've been to the Fox Theater to watch Beatles tribute band in a suite. We've been to Comerica Park in a suite. We've been to McMorran Arena. We've been to the parks. We play baseball outside. We'll play hockey outside. We play volleyball indoor. Hockey and volleyball indoor. We have a trivia night. We're an actual trivia team or company that goes to bars and restaurants, comes here, and we have our own league where we compete here. We have a fantasy football league between staff and members. We just finished our 4th year, I'm sorry, and one team has won it 3 years, another team won it the year before. Derby, Kentucky Derby, you don't want to miss that. Everybody puts on their derby hats. The staff acts as horses, we roll dice, the guys can bet, imaginary, and we give them prize money.
Yeah.
A lot of everything here for all these activities is 100% donated. They get no money from the state of Michigan for the activities. It's all donated money. And they do a wonderful job in recruiting that money. The guys here are heroes, men and women. We've lost 6, I believe, that were in World War II. We have 3 more here that are World War II veterans. A couple of them were honored at Ford Field on Veterans Day. When we go out to trivia where that company is, we also go out there, and they never forget to acknowledge us, and the people are so generous and great to us. But you'll be talking to the people here, and you learn their stories.
Mm-hmm.
And I liken it, I just said, this should be called Back to Basics, because it kind of, from an outside, real quick, looks like a barracks.
Mm-hmm.
And you think about it, we all got put together, 18-year-olds telling our 18-year-old lies.
Right.
Now we're back together 60 and 70 years later talking about 70 and 80-year-old lies. And it's it's the same thing. Everybody's got your back.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a wonderful place. And Jennifer Manning, who runs this, does a fantastic job. And her team, her entire team. I mean, we're from housekeeping to laundry to kitchen to nursing, the administration, and the CNAs. So yeah,
Yeah, it's the whole package here.
whole package.
Totally agree. And I think the bonus is that it is veterans.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all people who have served.
Not only that, but Gold Star parents
Yes.
are welcome here.
Yeah.
And I think that's wonderful. At first, we allowed husband and wives. We had 5 of them, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's still one couple. I might be wrong. I don't want to speak out of turn. But now, because we've filled up, it's kind of hard to do it
Right.
because everybody has your own individual room.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to be bugged at night, you put a note on your door, and they don't bother you at night, unless your team decides that yes, you need vitals taken at a certain time of night, then you do it.
Yeah. We just kind of have to work through it.
They respect your privacy. We have a bank here. They have a salon. They go on trip shopping.
Yeah, pretty much anything you need, right? Yeah. I like the idea too that if you have a car or if you still want to do all of those things, you can still do them, but you still have a place here.
And I really don't know how to phrase this. I always lose words for this one. The most heartwarming thing about living here is when someone passes. We line the hall up with an honor walk. Excuse me, we had one today, as a matter of fact. And wherever the veteran passed from, they'll have them on the gurney, the family will be behind them, they're playing taps all the way through. As they walk down the hallways, the members will salute, and we will see them all the way out till we can't see the car anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Ron, who I mentioned earlier, de Koopman, will present them with a flag. And it's very poignant. And
Yeah, it gets meaning all the way through.
yeah.
Yeah.
And they allow me to be a little bit part of it, which I am so grateful for.
I heard them call for that today
Yeah.
when I was here.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, this has been great. I've really enjoyed getting to know you, and learning about your life and your passions, especially learning about your family. Love family. Before we wrap up, I do want to ask you. I have one question that I ask everyone before we go, and that is for someone watching this or listening to this years from now, what message would you have for them?
It's for the people who have served is the very reason you're going to be able to watch this for 200 to 300 years from now. And the men and women that'll come after us. It's because of them that you have the right to do that.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Thanks for taking time out of your day to come
appreciate
sit here and talk with me. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
The story of one of our nation's heroes on Veterans Archives, where your story matters. We are dedicated to preserving these stories for future generations.